What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. So as you can see, we have another 1911 on the table for review. And if you know my channel, you know I love 1911s. I'm going to do a every 1911 in my collection video, I think. Well, this one's pretty cool because this is the Rock Island Armory M1911A2 FS in 22 TCM. If you're not familiar with what 22 TCM is, which I'm sure most people are, it is a bottleneck 22 pistol cartridge. And I think they used 223 brass cut down in the initial prototype stages, and they necked it down to 22 caliber. It is a proprietary cartridge to Rock Island Armory. They are the only company that currently makes guns in that caliber, and they make all the ammunition. TCM stands for Towson Craig Magnum, which Towson and Craig are the two inventors of it. I think Towson is the owner of Rock Island Armory. In case you don't know, Rock Island Armory is a Filipino company out of the Philippines, and they make mostly 1911s, although they're making some really cool stuff coming out of that company. So we're just gonna take a look at this firearm today on the tabletop portion of this review, and then take it out to the range for the live fire portion like we normally do. But I want to do something a little different today, and I want to talk about a company that I'm affiliated with, and they are a very cool company, and that company is Browne Works Inc. Now, this is not part of the little stand there. I just put that there because Mark over at Browne Works is a very cool dude, and he makes some really cool products like custom pistol stands. Look at this guy. Guys, this is insane how cool this thing is. He put the Wyoming Gun Project logo on there. I think it's like laser etched. Man, is it fantastic. This is beautiful. Send over this patch for me. That's kind of cool. Yeah, let's just see. So if you're in the market for some custom grips, look at that. It's not, let me pull it in a little bit more. If you're looking for a cool, customized, I believe you can do the custom stuff. You do the custom work here, customized wooden pistol stand with the foam and the held by the barrel. I mean, that's just, dude, this thing is beautiful. It's fantastic work. As you can see, it does fit 22. So there's several reasons I debuted this, because I got it a couple weeks back with this gun. One, to show you that this will fit a 22 pistol. As you can see, very nice foam piece right here. And also because, let me set this right here. Oh, how cool is that, man? Mark is one of the few companies that I know of. Browne Works Inc., one of the few companies that I know of that make aftermarket grips for this pistol. So I was going to mention it later on in the review, and I'll probably repeat myself, but the grips that come on this gun suck. And as you can see, they're not normal grips. They have this little kick out that they have to have for the wide trigger bar that comes with frames. So they're really thin, just cheap plastic. And again, like I said, they have this little kick out. So they're very thin. They are proprietary grips to double stack handguns. There might be other companies out there making them. I really couldn't find any until I came across Browne Works, and he was doing a beta. I did some beta testing for him on some other grips which have been on the channel, which are beautiful. And I noticed on his website that he actually has grips for double stack Rock Island Armory pistols. So that's super cool. So if you were in the market for some, and he makes it for a bunch of it. Now he's making them for the Taurus PT series, 1911s. Just go on his website. There is an affiliate link down below with a 10% discount code off of your first purchase, off of anything on the site. And just check out some of the custom grips he makes. Guys, they are beautiful. They're fantastic. So check them out. And let's get back to looking at this pistol. Thanks again to Mark over at Browne Works. At some point, I will probably pick up some grips for this thing because, again, bleh. But let me just also show you, in case you want to see it, for those out there that want to see it. Sometimes people mention it. This is the box it comes in. It's got some water spots because I took it out and did some testing with some water jugs, and our water is very hard up here in the mountains, so it leaves water residue. But what you get in the box, you get a thin, cheap plastic box. You do get 2 magazines with this pistol, and I think they're 17 round magazines. You get your standard paperwork, bicycle lock, all that kind of jazz. You get up in your very basic packaging, which is fine because packaging is not, I really don't care about the packaging. So let's set that aside. But I got the extra mag out because it is relevant to this review. I'm going to talk about it. So what is this? So this is a high capacity or a standard capacity wide body. Kind of, they call them 2011s, although when Para Ordnance came out with them, they weren't named that. They were just high cap 1911s, they called them. Full length guide rod in this model. As you can see, the barrel is, being a 22, you don't need all that extra weight, so it's thin, and then it bells out to the end so that it locks up with the standard. Take this mag out, set it over here. Standard barrel bushing. It does have a red fiber optic front sight. It is flat top, so it curves up. It's not a tri-cut top, but it does curve, and then it does flatten out, if you can see that there. Yeah, there you go. LPA, adjustable rear sight, fully adjustable rear target sight. There is the sight picture you will have. Extended mag button. Again, really thin, cheap grips. That's kind of the negative on there. Other standard slide stop, slide release, standard thumb safety, standard grip safety. Although I did find out later, this is like an Ed Browne pattern cut. So if you're going to replace this, look to get like an Ed Browne pattern. Don't go with Colts or any of the other brands because of the way, the distance here and the way it's cut. Delta style hammer. Trigger's not bad at all. Serrations are only on the rear, and they are angled, and they are cut really deep, and these are pretty sharp. You can get a lot of grip on these, although the recoil spring's very light because it is a 22. No ambi thumb safety. That can be corrected in the aftermarket, though. Skeletonized trigger that is metal, and it does have the adjustment for the over travel screw. Guys, that's not to adjust the weight on the trigger pull. That is to adjust over travel. And I think I'll address some of that stuff in future videos. Lowered, flared, and as you can see, relieved in the front ejection port. It says 22, says TCM right there on the right side of the slide. Has their logo back here. And let me just talk about that for a minute, because I appreciate that Rock Island Armory listens to their customers. When these were first starting to come in the country in the 90s, early 2000s, I remember when they first started bringing these in, they used to have a giant billboard on the side. And I'll try to run a picture of that in right here. And it was just hideous. And people were like, that sucks. Some people would actually get online and in groups and would talk, I'd buy their gun, except I hate that big billboard all over the side. So they reduced it and put it back here, which is fantastic. Some people would even grind it off, but that's the mark of a good company, that willing to innovate, willing to listen to their customers and give what their customers want. Customers say they want a smaller logo, make a smaller logo, put it back there. You know, let's see here. It is a ramped barrel, by the way. So it's not the standard. It is ramped, probably due to the cartridge. This is also a plastic mainspring housing, although it is, serrated with the crosshatch pattern. How many lines per inch? I have no idea. Memory grooves on the beaver tail. Some of the good things that they did. Let's go over some of the good things that I appreciate that Rock Island did for this gun. One, they blended the back. That's usually a custom feature, and it's pretty rough, but at least they made the attempt. They ground back here and made the attempt. The extractor and the ejector are pretty much flush back there. A lot of companies, American companies or lower price budget 1911 companies, even some higher ones, they just put them together. They don't care. They don't care if the ejector's sticking out the back of the slide or if the extractor is pronounced or high on the slide. They just leave it, which it does not affect functioning, but it's kind of a nice touch to just blend it into the frame a little bit. I'm glad they reduced the logo on here. I think it's a good looking gun. I'm glad that they put a fiber optic on the front. It's a really cool cartridge. If you're familiar with my channel, I'm kind of into the exotic, really crazy stuff. I have 45 gap, 22 TCM, 327 Federal Magnum, 30 Super Carry. I like oddball calibers. So I'm glad that they still offer this. And this is a budget-friendly 5-inch 1911 in an exotic caliber. So it's kind of my thing. Also, I must point out that this is a little step that a lot of 1911 companies will not do. Look at that right there, how they broke that edge. Let me zoom in a little bit, see if we can get better. Yeah, look how they broke that edge on the bottom of the slide. And it's all the way around and even on the other side. See that there? On the bottom right there on the slide. So they broke the edge. They took the time to machine that edge off, just so it's not as sharp. I dig that, man. I appreciate that. Now let's get into some of the negatives that came with this gun. Now I'm going to say this gun is 100%, has been 100% reliable. Now, being the nature of 22 TCM, it's not very expensive, and my local store does carry it, so it's not that bad price wise. But I've probably shot 250 rounds out of this gun, and I've had no issues, and it's pretty accurate, and I hope that shows it in the accuracy portion of this review. But some of the issues I had with it: thumb safety. Thumb safety, now, while it doesn't do the click, click, click down, so it is fit properly, but it was just mush. It was just so bad. I couldn't figure out why it was so nasty and mushy when I bought this gun. And it has to do with the magazines. So I didn't figure out why it was like that until I replaced the plunger tube spring with a Wilson Combat. Then the gun failed to start locking back. So prior to me replacing this, I probably fired a box or two, 50, 100 rounds, and it would lock back every time, and the gun worked perfectly. But that irritated me, the feeling of that safety. And as soon I said, well, I'm putting a Wilson Combat plunger tube spring in there. So I did, and it fixed it. It's very, as you can hear, it's very positive. Now it's awesome. However, then it stopped locking back on the last round. So I'm like, what the heck is going on? So I started looking at the magazines, and I'm going to show you the two magazines. I purposely did not fix one so that to wait for this review. But look at the followers on these two magazines. Now, I'm speculating, but what I believe is that these are pretty much 9mm followers. If you look at the body, it does say 22 TCM on there. I'm not sure if these are the exact same mag bodies as, let's say, 9mm, and they just stamp them 22 TCM. Probably not, because those holes right there look a little bit smaller than what would be on a 9mm mag. But I do believe that they use the same followers as the 9mm mags. So look at how this one stands up taller than this one, and by a significant amount. So this one, this is how it should be. This is how they come. Both of them were like this. So basically what I did was I took the follower out of this one, and I took some sandpaper and I filed down on both sides. You might be able to see it a little bit right there. On both sides of this follower, so it sits up higher. That's so it will activate the slide stop, slide release. And that fixed it. But if you look at normal mags, the top of this right here should be up in that lip. You should see that right there stick out the back, but you don't on this one. And you do on this one now that I fixed it. So I got to go back and I'm going to file off the sides to get this one to sit as high as this one, because this one currently still does not lock back. This one does, the one that I fixed. So what I believe they did was, because when I took the spring out of here, it was cut. It was short. I could tell it was cut. So what I believe they did was they stuck these mags in. And remember, they were both low like this. And look, it does not lock back. And I believe it was not locking back. So their fix was to cut this spring to relieve tension on the slide stop so that it would be so light that it would lock back. And that's what they did. See, this is the one, as you can see, it's higher. This is the one that locks back now that I fixed it. This one does not. So that's what I believe. I believe the technician who was working on this gun was trying to get it to lock back, and his or her solution was cut this spring, which puts less tension on both these pieces and basically has this flop around so that this lower and lighter, it wouldn't have less tension on there, but it is lower, so it's kind of less tension. We'll just pop it up in there. And that worked, because the gun did work like that until the proper spring. So they didn't correct the problem. They kind of just made it worse. Instead of having, and I don't think these are dedicated 22 TCM followers. I'm convinced of that. If they are, they need to fix these, because they need to make them thinner so that they sit higher, like the mag on the right. So that kind of bothered me. The fit and finish is pretty good on this gun. It's not that bad, to tell you the truth. These are the Rock Islands are known to be a little bit more crude than other manufacturers. I have heard that these are made on old Colt tooling and World War II tooling. I don't know if that's true, and a lot of stuff is worn out. That could just be a rumor. But let's get the weight and the trigger pull, and then let's go out to the range and do the live fire portion, because this video's been going on for a long time. So I kind of want to get the tabletop part wrapped up and get you out there to the range. So 41.54, and with the factory supplied empty magazine, we have 44.72 ounces. So she's a chunk, and not that 22 TCM recoils a lot, but it helps control the recoil. So even being that heavy, that it really helps control the recoil. All right, let's do some trigger pull. Uh-oh, batteries are low on this. Oof, there we go. Come on. Just get through this one, then I'll change the batteries. I promise. 518. Give me two more. 424. That first one I felt like I flubbed. 418. Let's just try one more, because I think that very first one I bungled it. 318. So yeah, it's probably right around 4. That would be my guess, because it's actually not a bad trigger. It's really not. So here's the take up, minimal take up, and then it breaks. There's no creep in it, no grit, none of that kind of stuff. So, oh, one check real quick. No barrel movement at all. So that's good. That helps lend towards consistent accuracy. So let's go out to the live fire portion of this review and bust some caps with her. All right, folks, live fire range portion of this review. We have the Rock Island Armory M1911A2FS in 22 TCM. We have 10 rounds of 40 grain, 22 TCM, and yeah, let's just see how it shoots, man. All right, folks, accuracy portion of this review. We have our Rock Island Armory 22 TCM 1911. We got a 3-inch shoot and see on this white piece of paper because I once again forgot to bring out a USPSA target. I like shooting on those better. We have 3 rounds of 40 grain 22 TCM. We're gonna go back 7 yards and we're just gonna see how it shoots. All right, guys, not bad, not bad. I think we can definitely work with that. So let's go back and get the final thoughts. All right, folks, final thoughts on the Rock Island Armory 22 TCM 1911. I think it's pretty cool, man. It does have, as discussed in the tabletop, it does have some small, or had some small issues with like the thumb safety being real mush, and then I replaced that with the Wilson Combat plunger tube spring, which fixed the safety. I mean, it was really loose. And then I found out why, as discussed again in the tabletop, what they did to the magazines. So the negatives on this, I mean, they did do a good job of blending, like a better job than a lot of these higher end American, American 1911. I'm not trying to say nothing, but I'm just saying they at least made an attempt to blend the ejector and extractor on the back of the slide. Yeah, MIM parts. There's a lot of guns coming with those nowadays. Not the biggest fan of the full-length guide rod, but that's something they do. That's their thing, along with Kimber and some Springfield Armory guns. Grips are crap, like we said, crap, black plastic crap. But as I told you on the tabletop, we got a solution for that. Go over and see Mark at Browne Works Inc. for grips. He actually does make some beautiful custom-made grips for these high-cap Rock Island Armories, and he's one of the only ones I've found out there that will do that. Other than that, though, listen, you saw it. It's pretty accurate and very reliable. I have never, ever, even when the mags were messed up, and I still, as I showed you, I still have that one messed up mag that I have to fix. Even when the mags were messed up and failing to lock the gun back, which it doesn't do it on this one. This one actually works now that I fixed it. But it's still reliable. It's very, very, very reliable. Also, again, it's a 22. So it's not a lot of mass going out the end of the barrel. So it's so flat shooting. There's no recoil. If you can get used to the loud boom and flash, and I don't know if the flash came through on camera, but there's a lot of flash with this gun. If you can get past that, you can, man, what's what do you want? It's a 22. You can shoot it real fast, real flat, man. There's no recoil. Other than that, though, if you're familiar with my channel, you know I love, God, the wind is crazy out here. I think we have a storm rolling in. I got to hurry up and get out of here. You know I'm into crazy, weird calibers. 45 Gap, 30 Super Carry, 22 TCM, 327 Federal Magnum. The list goes on. I like weird stuff, man. And I wanted one of these ever since it came out, and I never got one. It's probably a decade plus before I finally got one. When I saw it, bought it, picked it up, and I like shooting it, man. So this one is a win for me. So thanks for watching, guys. We will see you next time.